UFC Nashville takes place this weekend, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you my exact predictions for how I think every fight in the card is going to play out. So without further ado, first fight of the night, we got Fatima Kline taking on Melissa Martinez, and it doesn't take a rocket scientist to pick the minus 1400 favorite Fatima Kline. She's a dominant grappler, she has okay striking, and she trains with Erin Blanchfield. Need I say more? Most women in the strawweight division, if they can grapple dominantly, they will have a good career in the UFC. Now, Melissa Martinez has two fights in the UFC, one where she got dominated on the ground by Elise Reed, which is a horrific look, and one where she kept getting backed up against the cage by Alice Ardeline. If you're getting backed up by Ardeline and you're getting taken down by Elise Reed, I think Fatima Kline, who's 7-1, great prospect, good on the regional scene, did well against Jasmine Yazoo the Vicious in her debut fight. If you're going against her, you're going to lose. Fatima Kline, she shoots takedowns. She will find the sub on the ground. She can maybe even get a ground and pound KO finish. I'm going to lean sub. She's minus 1400, which means she's probably finding the finish early. So round one sub for Fatima Kline. Next up, we got Mike Davis taking on Mitch Ramirez. Now, prior to Mike Davis's last fight against Faraz Ziam, people were saying that Mike Davis is a future lightweight champion because he has dominant grappling, great jiu-jitsu, and if the fight were to stay standing, he has great striking as well. He can do it all. He can get infinite takedowns or he can land infinite significant strikes. There's no in between for Mike Davis. Now, his last fight against Faraz Ziam, he pulled guard very often in that fight and it was a horrific look. But if we're just gonna take that fight away, pretend it never happened, he should completely destroy Mitch Ramirez. He's minus 900 for a reason. If he takes it to the ground, he's going to find the sub because Mitch Ramirez against Thiago Moises let Thiago Moises take him down multiple times in that fight. If you're getting taken down by Moises, you're going to get taken down by Mike Davis. As soon as this fight hits the ground, I think Mitch Ramirez is going to get submitted, and I'm going to say round number one. Next up, we got Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Valter Walker. This is the first of two heavyweight fights taking place on this card, and this one, I would argue, is more entertaining, more intriguing than the main event, which is Lewis versus Teixeira. Now, with that being said, lately when I've been making picks, I try to pick the favorite first, and then if I really want to take the underdog, I work my way backwards, and I try to find reasoning for that. So at first, I was like, oh, Kennedy is the lock. He's the better striker, and if he doesn't get taken down, he should win a clean decision. But the more I look into it, I'm actually leaning Valter Walker to win. Plus 175, I think he'll find the submission. He's a dominant grappler, he has okay takedowns, and his striking is very bad. So the problem I see happening is if Kennedy starts landing big on Valter Walker, he's going to start doing the Muhammad Usman, where he's like, oh God, oh my God, I'm in a fight. What the? I didn't realize I was in a fight. You know, like that's how Valter Walker reacts to big strikes being landed on him. So I am a little fearful of that. But if you're just going to take away, you know, the tinfoil hat theory, Valter Walker is very durable. His only loss has come by decision in a fight where it was his UFC debut and he looked fat and chubby and overweight. But since then, he's looked shredded, lean. He's on a two-fight heel hook victory win streak. I think Valter Walker can get takedowns on Kennedy. After all, we saw Danilo Marquez at light heavyweight control Kennedy for 8 minutes in their 3-round fight. Danilo Marquez is no longer signed to the UFC, and Paul Craig was even having some decent success with takedowns against Kennedy. So if those guys can do it at light heavyweight, I think Valter Walker should have no problem getting this fight to the mat if he just shoots early and often. Kennedy fights, you often see him stand there and not engage. It's a staring contest a lot when you watch Kennedy fight. And against Valter Walker, if he's just going to stand there and just wait for Valter Walker to move, I think Valter Walker will get the takedowns. And even if he can't get the takedowns, I think he can dive on a leg and maybe get a leg lock, maybe get another heel hook. He's very versatile when it comes to the world of grappling, and Kennedy, I don't think is. This is Kennedy's first real test at heavyweight. He is on a 2-fight KO win streak, just beating up random heavyweights like Chris Barnett and Lucas Bresky, but Valter Walker is going to be the first true test for Kennedy, and I don't think he's going to pass it. Valter Walker has great durability. I don't see him getting KO'd in this matchup. With all that being said, Valter Walker by round 2 sub. Next up, we got Lauren Murphy taking on Eduarda Moura, and if you think I'm taking a 41-year-old to win, especially a woman 41-year-old at the flyweight level, you got another thing coming. Eduarda Moura minus 625, huge favorite. If I were to bet any underdog on the card that was huge, it would be Lauren Murphy, simply because Eduarda Moura has very bad striking, and if it stays standing, she's going to lose the striking exchanges. I just think that Eduarda Moura is so dominant with the grappling that she will get it to the mat, and she's 10 years younger than Lauren Murphy after all. She's going to be bigger than Lauren Murphy in the cage, and if you look at Lauren Murphy's career, every time she's fought someone that wants to take her down, they have taken her down. She got taken down by Sarah McMahon, Ciara Eubanks, Liz Caramouche, Valentina Shevchenko. Basically every fight that she had to get taken down in, she got taken down in, and she's in her 40s now, so there's 0% chance she's improved her takedown defense enough in the last 2 years off that would make me think Moura would lose this. So Eduarda Moura gets this fight to the mat, and I think she's going to find a finish in round 2 by sub. Next up, we got Jake Matthews taking on Chidi Bang Bang Njokuani. Now, when I first saw this matchup, I thought it was a no-brainer to pick Chidi, considering he has the KO upside. He's going to be the longer and bigger fighter in the cage, and he even lately has been showing that he can win decisions if he just gets it in the clinch and fires a bunch of clinch strikes. But the more I look into it, the more I am actually leaning towards Jake Matthews to win by decision, plus 140, another underdog picked. He has good takedowns. That's really what it boils down to. He has good takedowns, more UFC experience. They both have bad IQs, bad fight IQs for Jake Matthews and Chidi. But I think if this fight were to elongate, go out of the first round, go into the second, go into the third, I think Jake Matthews will get the upper hand as the fight goes on. He might get rocked in the first round, he might get wobbled, he might even get dropped in the first round, but Chidi, if he empties his gas tank like he usually does early, I think he's going to be in for a world of hurt against a guy like Jake Matthews, a guy that can initiate takedowns, a guy that can get minutes on the ground with grappling and control time. Jake Matthews can just survive the first round. I think this is his fight to lose. I think he should actually be the favorite here, considering he's fought the higher ranked guys, the higher level guys. Chidi, the only guys he's beaten is a guy like Reese McKee, a guy like Jared Gooden, old Elizu Dos Santos, not really the most impressive wins, and whenever he's had to step up, he loses. So I think this is actually a step up for Chidi, and for all those reasons, I'm going to take Jake Matthews to win by decision. Next up, we got Chris Curtis taking on Max Griffin. Chris Curtis is usually a middleweight, but now he's moving down to welterweight for the first time in his UFC career, and I just can't take Max Griffin after his Michael Chiesa performance. He looked completely washed against Michael Chiesa. He looked hesitant to throw the entire fight. Now, granted, Michael Chiesa is a heavy grappler, so Chris Curtis is not going to initiate takedowns, so that's good for Max Griffin, but Chris Curtis is going to land more strikes than Max Griffin. Chris Curtis is a better boxer than Max Griffin, and I think even though they're both old, they're both 37-year-old plus, I still think Chris Curtis will be the faster and quicker guy in the octagon. And with all that being said, this is also a big step down for Chris Curtis after fighting Roman Kopylov, and this is a huge step up for Max Griffin after fighting Michael Chiesa. So with all that being said, battle of the unks, I'm going to take the younger unk, Chris Curtis, to win by decision. Next fight on the card, we got Junior Tafa taking on Tuko Tokkos. Junior Tafa is usually a heavyweight. He went 1-3 at the heavyweight level in the UFC, and now he's making his move down to light heavyweight, and he looks shredded. I'm not going to lie. He looks lean, he looks mean, and I think Junior Tafa is going to win this one by round 1 KO. Now, it's hard to take Junior Tafa ever, because he has a big hole in his grappling. Now, Tuko Tokkos, if there's one thing that he's decent at, it is his takedown entries, it is his grappling, it is his wrestling. However, Tuko Tokkos has too many meme losses for me to consider him to win a fight in the UFC ever. He got meme subbed by Umar Sy. He was joking around, haha, I'm not going to get subbed, and immediately gets subbed. He got meme KO'd by Ming Yang Zhang. He got meme decisioned by Navajo Sterling. Like, every fight this guy takes place in is a meme, ends in a meme. It never ends the way you think it will. Now, Tuko Tokkos is just not good. If this stays standing, I think Junior Tafa is going to knock him out, and I think Tuko Tokkos might entertain the standing for the first round, which makes me believe Junior Tafa is going to win this by round 1 KO. Next fight on the card, we got Vitor Petrino, yet another fighter that is moving weight classes. He used to be a light heavyweight, had a couple wins, got a couple losses, got knocked out by Dustin Jacoby, got submitted by Anthony Smith. Now he's moving up to heavyweight to take on Austen Lane, who's probably the lowest ranked heavyweight on the active UFC roster. So with all that being said, there is a reason Petrino is minus 700. I'm taking him to win by round 2 KO on the off chance that Austen Lane actually initiates wrestling in the first round like he does with all his fights. Now, Austen Lane is kind of a meme fighter himself. Austen Lane, he wins the first round in almost every fight he's had in the UFC other than when he gets knocked down in the first round. Every fight that enters round 2, Austen Lane most likely won the first round with his takedowns, with his wrestling, with his cardio, with his jiu-jitsu. The problem with Austen Lane is after round 1, his cardio seemingly falls off a cliff. He starts punching with his hands down, not leaving his chin in the air. And I think against a guy like Vitor Petrino, who has big power at light heavyweight, I do think that will translate to the heavyweight level. He's going to be the quicker, more agile fighter in the cage, and Vitor Petrino has showed pretty decent takedown defense. So if he can actually avoid takedowns in the first round, he could probably win in the first round. But I think Austen Lane will have like a veteran trick up his sleeve for round 1. Vitor Petrino is probably getting Austen Lane out of there at some point. I would say round 2. So we got Nate Landwehr taking on the last pirate, Morgan Charriere. Now, I hate betting/picking on any fight that includes Morgan Charriere because oftentimes it's a very razor-close fight. He has 11 losses, and 10 of them have come by decision, whether it be a majority decision loss, a split decision loss, a unanimous decision loss. It doesn't matter. Morgan Charriere finds new ways to lose by decision seemingly every time he enters the octagon, and I think the reasoning for that is he's very low volume. Whenever he lands, it's big, but it's not really landing often. That's the problem. And the takedowns he has are pretty good, but he's not really shooting for takedowns often. At first, I picked Nate Landwehr to win this, but the more I think about it, I'm actually leaning towards Morgan Charriere. The main reason being, he's 8 years younger than Nate Landwehr, and he has accrued significantly less damage. Now, although Morgan has more fights than Nate Landwehr on his record, Morgan has not taken nearly the amount of damage that Nate Landwehr has. He's been finished once compared to Nate Landwehr, who's been finished multiple times by KO and by sub. Nate Landwehr, he also looked washed in his last fight against Superboy Do Hung Choi. I'm basing this a lot off of Nate Landwehr's last performance. He just looked slow, he looked old, and he looked like he was there to get hit. I think Morgan Charriere, he's going to fight someone that's there to get hit, he's going to hit them. Morgan Charriere, I think, should win this. He's minus 260, he's the big favorite. I'm taking him to win by decision. Next up, we got the people's main event of the evening. Calvin Kattar, however you pronounce it, taking on Steve Garcia. Calvin Kattar/Kattar/ however you pronounce it, is on a 4-fight losing streak. So with this, if he were to lose it, he's probably getting cut from the UFC. He's already 37 years old. He's already way past his prime. Meanwhile, you got a guy like Steve Garcia, who's 33 years old, on a 5-fight win streak with all of them coming by KO, who's in the peak of his prime. You got a guy in the peak of his prime versus a guy who's completely out of his prime on a 4-fight losing streak. You should pick the guy that's in the peak of his prime, Steve Garcia. The problem that I'm getting is he's only minus 120. I think he should be like minus 300. Calvin Kattar in his losses could chalk them up to fighting grapplers. You could chalk it up to freak injury, and you can chalk it up to split decision robbery. Against Zalal didn't really initiate takedowns and won a clean decision just by points fighting Kattar at a distance. Steve Garcia is not going to do that. He's a power puncher that moves forward, and his wins are aging well. He has a KO over Chase Hooper, who's going to probably be ranked soon. He has a KO over Melky Costa, who's going to probably be ranked soon. And Kattar, it's just really hard to take him at this point in his career. The only way I would take Kattar is if he was fighting someone who Steve Garcia has beaten, like a Shylin Nerdenbecky. You know, Calvin Kattar against an up-and-coming guy that's in the peak of his prime that can knock you out with one punch. I don't think this is the matchup to take Calvin Kattar. Unfortunately, I don't really see how Calvin Kattar wins this. Minus 120, I think, is great odds for a bet as well. I just don't know why it's so small. I'm not really sure. I guess maybe they're thinking Steve Garcia is going to get fraud checked, but he's on a 5-fight KO win streak against pretty decent guys. With all that being said, I'm taking Steve Garcia by round 2 KO. Next up, we got the co-main event of the evening. We got Steven Wonderboy Thompson taking on Gabriel Bonfim. I'm not going to meme you guys. I am taking Gabriel Bonfim minus 380 to win. I'm taking him by round 2 sub. And Wonderboy just has historically struggled against guys like Bonfim. He got subbed by Shavkat in 2 rounds. He got controlled by Gilbert Burns in their fight for the entire fight. He couldn't get off the mat once he was there. And I think Gabriel Bonfim fast-moving Brazilian with high power and effective jiu-jitsu. He's going to get Thompson down to the ground in round 1, and he might get him out of there in the first round as well. He's going to be 15 years younger than Stephen Thompson, and that's just too much of an age gap to overcome, I think. He's going to be way quicker than Stephen Thompson, way faster, more agile, and the thing that has gotten Stephen Thompson this far is his karate style that helps him move back and forth. If he can't move quickly anymore, he's there to get hit and he's there to get taken down. And in his 40s, I think his quickness is completely out the window. And I think he's going to lose this one by submission. Now, there is a chance that Bonfim blows his load in the first round. Thompson, with his karate style, just points fights his way to a decision against Bonfim. So maybe there is a world where Stephen Thompson by decision is an interesting bet. But Gabriel Bonfim by sub is what I think will happen. He can do by guillotine, he can go for the back, he can go arm triangle. He's very aggressive when it gets to the mat. He can win by any means. So, Gabriel Bonfim by round 2 sub. Last but not least, we have the main event of the evening. Derrick Lewis taking on Tallison Teixeira. My first instinct when looking at this was to take Derrick Lewis as the underdog, but this guy's in his 40s, number one. Number two, he actually looks like he's in his 40s now. Like, his last couple of fights, Derrick Lewis kind of looked young. He looked a little spry on his feet, but now, if you're looking at fight media, this guy looks old. He looks fat, he looks slow. Tallison Teixeira, 25-year-old Brazilian that he may have only had one fight in the UFC, but he's a freak of nature. He's tall, he's long, KO power, and he has jiu-jitsu if the fight were to get to the mat, which it's not, and he has great clinch game as well. With all that being said, I'm taking Tallison Teixeira minus 260 to win by round 1 KO. I think as soon as they exchange, Tallison Teixeira is just going to knock out Derrick Lewis. Derrick Lewis, thus far, he's been winning fights when he just explodes in the first round and gets like a flash knockout, or he's winning fights when he's fighting someone that doesn't really have KO power, like a Rodrigo Nascimento. If he's fighting someone with KO power, who's 15 years younger than him, is going to be way quicker and has an excellent clinch game, which is how he lost the tie to Tuivasa. I don't see how Derrick Lewis meme KOs his way into a victory in this one. So, with all that being said, I'm taking the undefeated Brazilian, who's 15 years younger, to win by round 1 KO. I'm predicting a clinch KO similar to the Tuivasa loss that Derrick Lewis had.